Have you ever wondered if your morning routine could be putting your life at risk? Imagine waking up, going about your usual habits, and unknowingly setting yourself up for a medical emergency that claims more lives than you might think. Every year in the United States, nearly 800,000 people suffer a stroke, and about 140,000 of them die from it, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. That's one person every 4 minutes. Even more alarming, the vast majority of these strokes happen to people over 60, and most are linked to everyday habits that seem harmless, but are actually dangerous. What if I told you that some of the most common things seniors do every morning are quietly increasing their risk of stroke? It's not just genetics or bad luck. In fact, research shows that lifestyle choices and daily routines play a much bigger role than most people realize. Are you making one of these risky mistakes without even knowing it? Could a simple change in your morning routine be the difference between a healthy life and a devastating stroke? And why do so many people ignore the early warning signs, thinking it could never happen to them? In this video, we're going to explore 7 morning habits that raise the risk of stroke in people over 60, habits that very few people actually know about. Number 2 is by far the most dangerous, and almost every senior does it without a second thought. Stay with me to find out what it is, and at the end, I'll share the best ways to protect yourself and build a healthier morning routine. Before we get into it, can you do us a quick favor? Like this video and subscribe to join our healthy community. Also, let me know in the comments how old you are and what topic you'd like me to cover in the next video. I'll take the time to read every single one of your messages. All right, let's get started. Habit number 7, ignoring mild morning symptoms. Have you ever woken up with a slight headache, numbness in a limb, or a brief dizzy spell and thought, it's nothing? Maybe you blamed it on sleeping in the wrong position or not getting enough rest. But here's the reality. These seemingly harmless symptoms could be your body's early warning signs of a stroke, and ignoring them could be a life-threatening mistake. Studies have shown that up to 23% of stroke patients experience subtle neurological symptoms hours or even days before their major stroke. These early signs, often occurring in the morning, are called prodromal symptoms. They may include temporary numbness or weakness, especially on one side of the body, trouble speaking, sudden loss of balance, a brief change in vision, or unexplained confusion. The danger is that these symptoms are easy to dismiss because they're mild or go away quickly. But these episodes may actually be transient ischemic attacks, TIAs, also known as mini-strokes. A TIA is a temporary blockage of blood flow to the brain. It doesn't cause permanent damage, but it is a serious red flag. According to the American Stroke Association, over 1/3 of people who experience a TIA will go on to have a full-blown stroke within a year, and many of those occur within the first few days. Morning is a particularly risky time for stroke. Upon waking, your body goes through several physiological changes. Blood pressure tends to surge in the first hour, a natural response called the morning surge, which can strain blood vessels, especially if they're already weakened by age, hypertension, or plaque buildup. Your blood is also more concentrated due to overnight dehydration, which increases the risk of clot formation. All of this makes those morning symptoms even more significant. The biggest mistake people over 60 make is normalizing these red flags. They wait to see if things get worse, take a nap, or just hope the symptoms go away. But time is critical when it comes to stroke prevention. If you experience even a brief episode of slurred speech, sudden numbness, dizziness, or confusion, you should seek immediate medical attention, even if you feel fine afterward. Doctors can run tests like a brain scan or a carotid ultrasound to determine whether a TIA or another vascular event has occurred. If caught early, treatments such as aspirin therapy, blood pressure management, cholesterol-lowering medication, or even minor surgical intervention can dramatically reduce your risk of a future stroke. So what should you do? First, listen to your body. Don't dismiss unusual symptoms, especially first thing in the morning. Stay hydrated, keep your blood pressure under control, and if you're over 60, talk to your doctor about your stroke risk, even if you feel healthy. Recognizing and acting on these silent red flags can make the difference between prevention and a life-altering medical emergency. Don't wait for a major event to take your health seriously. Morning symptoms might be quiet, but they're speaking loud and clear if you're willing to listen. Habit number 6, skipping morning hydration. It might seem harmless, but skipping that first glass of water in the morning could quietly be putting your health and your brain at risk. After 7 to 9 hours of sleep without fluid intake, your body wakes up in a state of mild dehydration, whether you feel thirsty or not. And if you're over 60, that dehydration can have serious consequences, especially when it comes to your risk of stroke. Here's why. When you sleep, your body loses water through breathing, sweating, and urine production. But unlike during the day, you don't replace any of it. By the time you wake up, your blood becomes more concentrated and viscous, meaning thicker. This makes it harder for your heart to pump blood efficiently and increases the likelihood of clot formation, particularly in already narrowed or damaged blood vessels. A 2019 study published in the European Journal of Neurology found that inadequate morning hydration was a contributing factor in 48% of first-time ischemic strokes. Nearly half of those cases were linked not to age, family history, or even high cholesterol, but to dehydration. That's a stunning statistic for something so easily preventable. Other research in stroke, a journal by the American Heart Association, reinforces that dehydration can cause reduced cerebral perfusion. In other words, lower blood flow to the brain, which is a direct risk factor for both TIAs, transient ischemic attacks, and full-blown strokes. The first hours after waking are particularly critical because this is when blood pressure naturally surges, a physiological phenomenon known as the morning surge. If your blood is thicker at this moment and your vessels are already under pressure, the risk of a clot forming and blocking blood flow to the brain is dramatically increased. Despite all of this, many people, especially older adults, wake up and go straight for coffee, medications, or even begin their daily routine without drinking a drop of water. But caffeine is a mild diuretic, which can actually increase fluid loss, making the problem worse. That's why starting your day with coffee before rehydrating can push your body further into dehydration instead of relieving it. So what should you do? The best habit you can build is this. Drink a full glass of room temperature or warm water immediately after waking up, before coffee, before food, before pills, and yes, even before checking your phone. Warm or room temperature water is gentler on the stomach and easier for your body to absorb quickly. You're not just moistening your throat, you're reawakening your circulatory system, flushing out toxins, helping your kidneys, and most importantly, improving blood flow to your brain. If you're over 60, this is even more crucial. As we age, our sense of thirst diminishes, so you may not feel dehydrated even when you are. Make hydration a non-negotiable part of your morning routine. It's one of the simplest, cheapest, and most effective ways to support heart and brain health and lower your stroke risk without medication. Habit number 5, prolonged stillness. You might think that staying in bed a little longer in the morning is harmless, maybe even healthy. After all, rest is important, right? But the kind of stillness we're talking about here isn't restful sleep. It's waking up and then staying physically inactive for long stretches of time. Lying in bed, scrolling through your phone, sitting at the edge of the bed, or lounging on the couch for an hour without any real movement. This habit, especially in older adults, can quietly increase the risk of stroke and other serious cardiovascular problems. When you remain still for too long after waking, your circulation slows down, particularly in the lower limbs. Blood tends to pool in the legs, and without movement, the muscles that normally help pump blood back to the heart aren't doing their job. This sets the stage for venous stasis, a condition where blood flow becomes sluggish and clots can begin to form. Especially in people over 60, those with high blood pressure, or a history of vascular disease. Research from the Journal of the American Heart Association shows that prolonged sedentary behavior is associated with a significantly higher risk of stroke, even after adjusting for exercise and overall fitness. In fact, one 2020 study found that adults over 60 who spent more than 10 waking hours per day sedentary had a 44% increased risk of stroke compared to those who moved more frequently throughout the day. This risk is compounded in the morning. Upon waking, your blood pressure naturally spikes, a biological process known as the morning surge. If your blood is already slightly thicker from overnight dehydration and your circulation is slow due to inactivity, this creates a perfect storm: blood that's harder to pump, vessels that are under pressure, and a body that's still in a low metabolism state. Together, these conditions make it more likely for a clot to form or a vessel to rupture. And yet, this is one of the most ignored habits. Most people think, "I'll move later. I just need a minute." That minute often becomes half an hour or more. It feels harmless, but over time, the impact builds. Day after day, week after week, this prolonged morning stillness can quietly strain your cardiovascular system and increase your long-term risk of stroke. The solution doesn't require intense exercise or a gym membership. Just gentle movement after waking up can make a significant difference. Swing your legs off the bed, stretch your arms, roll your shoulders, stand up slowly, and take a short walk around your home. Even 5–10 minutes of light movement can stimulate blood flow, kickstart your metabolism, and reduce clotting risk. If balance is an issue, start small and consider seated stretches or mobility exercises. The key is consistency. Make it a habit to move within the first 10 to 15 minutes of waking up before you check your phone or settle into your morning routine. Stillness, when prolonged, is not peace. For your heart, your brain, and your future, movement is medicine. Habit number 4, sweetened iced coffee. On a warm morning, nothing feels more refreshing than a cold, sweet iced coffee. It's smooth, energizing, and for many people, it's a comforting part of their daily routine. But if you're over 60, this seemingly innocent habit could be silently raising your risk of stroke, especially if that iced coffee is loaded with sugar, flavored syrups, or artificial creamers. Most commercial iced coffees, especially those from coffee shops or prepackaged brands, contain far more sugar than people realize. A typical medium-sized flavored iced coffee can contain between 25 and 50 grams of sugar, sometimes even more. That's the equivalent of 6 to 12 teaspoons in a single drink first thing in the morning. Add in sweetened creamers or whipped toppings, and the number climbs higher. For comparison, the American Heart Association recommends no more than 25 grams of added sugar per day for women and 36 grams for men, an amount you can easily exceed in one morning beverage. What does this have to do with stroke? The combination of high sugar intake and caffeine can cause immediate and harmful effects on your cardiovascular system. When you consume large amounts of sugar, your blood glucose levels spike, triggering a cascade of physiological responses. Your insulin levels rise, your blood vessels constrict, and your blood pressure can increase sharply. According to a study published in the journal Nutritious in 2018, the acute intake of sugar-sweetened beverages causes significant elevations in systolic blood pressure and inflammatory markers, especially in older adults. On top of that, caffeine is a stimulant that naturally increases heart rate and blood pressure. When combined with sugar, it creates a double stress load on your cardiovascular system. The blood becomes more viscous, thicker, the arteries stiffen temporarily, and the heart is forced to pump harder, all within the first 2 hours after consumption. This environment is primed for the formation of blood clots, which, if they travel to the brain, can cause an ischemic stroke. Hidden sodium in flavored creamers and store-bought iced coffee mixes adds another layer of danger. Many people don't realize that these products often contain salt as a preservative or flavor enhancer, which can contribute to elevated blood pressure, a key risk factor for stroke. For seniors whose blood vessels may already be weakened by age or atherosclerosis, this combination can be especially hazardous. So what's the safer alternative? If iced coffee is part of your morning ritual, you don't have to give it up, but you do need to make smarter choices. Opt for unsweetened cold brew or iced coffee made at home, where you can control the ingredients. Use plant-based milks like almond or oat milk, and if you need a touch of sweetness, consider natural alternatives like stevia or a small amount of honey. Avoid heavy creamers, flavored syrups, and store-bought versions packed with additives. At this stage in life, your goal should be to reduce inflammation, maintain flexible blood vessels, and keep your blood pressure stable. Sweetened iced coffee does the opposite. Swap the sugar-laden drinks for something cleaner, and you'll be giving your brain and your entire vascular system a much-needed break. Habit number 3, skipping breakfast. Skipping breakfast might seem like a harmless habit, or even a healthy one, especially with the popularity of intermittent fasting. But for adults over 60, regularly skipping breakfast can increase your risk of stroke and the science behind this is becoming increasingly clear. The issue isn't just missing a few calories, it's about depriving your brain and body of the fuel they need to function during one of the most critical windows of the day. After a night of fasting, your body wakes up in a low-energy state. Glucose, the primary energy source for your brain, is already low. If you skip breakfast, blood sugar levels can drop further, leading to symptoms like dizziness, fatigue, confusion, and even fainting. More importantly, your cardiovascular system is under pressure. The absence of food causes the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which raise your blood pressure and heart rate, already naturally elevated in the morning due to the body's circadian rhythm. This increase puts additional strain on your blood vessels, especially in aging arteries that may already be narrowed or weakened. A large-scale Japanese study published in Stroke in 2016 followed over 80,000 people and found that those who regularly skipped breakfast had a significantly higher risk of both hemorrhagic and ischemic strokes. The link was particularly strong in individuals over 60. Researchers suggested that skipping breakfast may increase stroke risk by contributing to hypertension, insulin resistance, and elevated LDL cholesterol, all well-established risk factors for cerebrovascular disease. Furthermore, skipping breakfast is associated with metabolic dysfunction. When your body doesn't get early nutrients, it can disrupt insulin sensitivity and cause postprandial spikes, sugar surges after eating later in the day, which contribute to vascular inflammation and damage. Over time, this pattern increases the chance of plaque buildup in the arteries, a key cause of ischemic strokes. Many older adults unintentionally make this mistake. They wake up, drink coffee, which further increases cortisol, take their medications, sometimes on an empty stomach, and tell themselves they'll eat later. Some are trying to lose weight or follow intermittent fasting trends, unaware that older bodies respond differently to fasting. The brain becomes more vulnerable to glucose fluctuations with age, and nutritional needs shift towards stability, not restriction. The solution isn't to eat a heavy meal every morning. Even a light, balanced breakfast can have protective effects. Aim for something that includes complex carbohydrates, healthy fats, and protein. For example, oatmeal with a handful of nuts, whole grain toast with avocado, or a banana with a spoon of almond butter. These choices help stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and support healthy blood flow to the brain. If you truly don't feel hungry in the morning, start with something small and build the habit. Hydrate first and then eat within the first hour of waking. Over time, your appetite will adjust. Your brain is energy hungry. It uses up to 20% of your body's glucose supply, even at rest. Depriving it of fuel every morning may not seem like a big deal, but for someone over 60, it can gradually contribute to serious long-term damage. Don't skip the most important meal of the day. Your brain and your future depend on it. Habit number 2, sitting too long in bed. One of the most overlooked morning habits, especially among older adults, is sitting in bed for too long after waking up. It seems harmless. You wake up, stay seated on the edge of the bed, maybe scroll through your phone, check the news, or just stare out the window. But doing this for 20, 30, even 40 minutes without moving your body can quietly raise your risk of stroke, particularly after age 60. It's a slow, silent risk that builds over time. When you lie down for 7 to 9 hours during sleep, blood circulation naturally slows. Upon waking, your body is still transitioning from a resting state to an active one. If you go from lying still to sitting still, especially without engaging your muscles, blood tends to pool in the lower extremities, especially the legs. This pooling delays the return of blood to the heart and reduces brain perfusion, meaning your brain gets less oxygen-rich blood when it needs it most. As we age, our blood vessels lose elasticity and circulation becomes less efficient. This makes the transition from lying down to sitting or standing more challenging. For some, it may even cause lightheadedness or orthostatic hypotension, a drop in blood pressure upon standing. But even without noticeable symptoms, sitting still for extended periods reduces venous return, blood flow back to the heart, which can raise the risk of clot formation. For individuals with high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, or a history of cardiovascular disease, this stagnation can become a stroke trigger. A 2021 study in the journal Hypertension Research found that older adults who remain sedentary for long periods, especially in the morning, showed lower cerebral blood flow and higher inflammatory markers compared to those who moved shortly after waking. These findings align with broader evidence linking prolonged sedentary behavior to increased stroke risk, regardless of overall fitness levels. What makes this habit so sneaky is that it doesn't feel unhealthy. You're not inactive all day, just for a little while after waking. But because the morning is already a high-risk time for cardiovascular events due to natural blood pressure surges and dehydration, even short periods of stillness can become dangerous when repeated daily. So what's the safer alternative? Wake up slowly but move early. Before even sitting up, start with gentle ankle rolls, toe flexes, and light leg stretches. These simple movements help activate circulation in the lower body. Once seated, do a few shoulder rolls, neck stretches, and arm circles. Then stand up gently, taking a few steps or stretching your body upright. Just 2 to 3 minutes of light movement is enough to signal your body to increase circulation, stabilize blood pressure, and improve blood flow to the brain. The goal isn't a workout, it's transition. Helping your body shift smoothly from sleep to wakefulness through movement can significantly reduce cardiovascular strain. For older adults, this can be the difference between a healthy morning and a dangerous one. Movement isn't just about fitness, it's about safety. Don't let stillness steal your strength. Start every morning by waking your body, not just your eyes. Habit number 1, drinking coffee on an empty stomach. For many people, the day doesn't truly start until that first sip of coffee. But if you're over 60 and your morning routine begins with coffee on an empty stomach, you could be putting unnecessary strain on your heart and brain without even realizing it. While black coffee itself isn't harmful, in fact, it contains antioxidants and may offer some health benefits. Drinking it first thing, before any food or water, can trigger a chain of reactions that quietly increase your risk of stroke over time. The problem lies in how caffeine interacts with your body when there's no buffer of food. First, it causes a rapid surge in cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone. Cortisol naturally rises in the morning to help wake you up, but caffeine amplifies that effect. A 2020 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that consuming coffee before eating can increase cortisol levels by 30 to 60%, especially in older adults. Elevated cortisol raises blood pressure, tightens arteries, and increases inflammation, all known contributors to cardiovascular strain and stroke risk. Second, drinking coffee on an empty stomach leads to gastric irritation and blood sugar instability. Without food to slow absorption, caffeine is processed rapidly, causing an adrenaline spike. This speeds up your heart rate and narrows your blood vessels, making it harder for blood to flow freely to the brain. For someone already at risk for hypertension or with atherosclerosis, plaque in the arteries, this can be a dangerous combination. Additionally, caffeine is a diuretic, meaning it increases fluid loss. If you haven't hydrated yet in the morning, this effect can worsen existing dehydration, leading to thicker blood, lower circulation efficiency, and a greater chance of clot formation. Remember, the early morning hours already involve natural blood pressure surges and lower blood volume. Adding caffeine to the mix, especially in high doses, compounds the stress on your system. Many older adults also unknowingly consume too much caffeine at once. 2 large mugs of coffee can exceed 300 million joules of caffeine, far beyond the recommended 150 to 200 milliliters per serving for those with cardiovascular concerns. When this is done consistently, it can wear down blood vessels and increase the risk of chronic hypertension and stroke. So what's the better approach? First, eat something small before your first coffee. Nothing heavy, just enough to slow the caffeine absorption and provide your body with fuel. A half banana, a few almonds, a slice of toast, or a boiled egg are all good options. Second, hydrate with a full glass of water before reaching for the coffee pot. This helps reduce blood viscosity and supports circulation. Finally, limit your intake to 1 moderate cup, about 150 milliliters of caffeine, and wait 30 minutes before considering a second. Coffee isn't the enemy, but the timing and context matter, especially after 60. If it's the first thing your body receives each morning, it's not giving you energy. It's pushing your system into overdrive. Treat your brain, heart, and vessels with care. Start your day by fueling first, then sipping smart. Let's wrap this up with what really matters: your daily choices. These morning habits might seem small, but over time they can either protect your brain or put it at risk. The power is in your hands. Are you already practicing one of these habits? Or is there one you're ready to change starting tomorrow? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear about your morning routine. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it and share it with a friend or family member who could benefit from this information. Your support helps us keep creating content that empowers healthier lives. Thank you for watching and supporting our channel. To keep learning, we've handpicked 2 videos just for you. Click on one of them and we'll see you there.